You should have it. I'm glad you're laughing about this. I'm glad you're laughing. I'm glad you're laughing. I'm glad you think this is funny. So for anyone who's now joining, no, we're not. This isn't the wrong part uploaded. This isn't a wrong anything. I just spent half an hour talking about the lore of Borderlands and essentially talking about the story. And come to find out, my compatriot here did not hit record.
I did too. You saw it. You saw me hit record. Did
I saw you
not?
click something, but
Exactly.
apparently you didn't. Look at that. Even that thing, top left-hand corner, says recording when you're recording. You fuck ass.
Hey, you saw me click it.
I heard you click.
No, you
I was
said you saw me
watching.
watch. Bullshit.
So I saw you getting it ready. I didn't see you click anything. I heard you click it. Apparently you missed.
So if anybody's wondering, the last half an hour.
I just wasted the last half an hour running through this. I got a legendary. I got the bonus package. That was pretty cool. But I was talking about lore throughout the whole entire fucking thing. So I guess that's fine. That's great. That's cool. So essentially, I just talked about like the story of all three games, and I'm going to kind of skim over some. I'm going to assume if you are watching this, you understand at least the base story of Borderlands 1, the pre-sequel, and 2. And, lol. And, essentially, what I talked about was some, like, extra lore shit about, like, what the vaults are and what the Iridians are and shit like that. So, essentially, what the vaults are well, essentially, we'll start with the Iridians. The Iridians are a super old race of aliens who invented the vaults to essentially store very dangerous or important things so they might not fall into the wrong hands. And pretty much that leads to all the dickery of Borderlands 1, 2, and 3 is the fact that people discovered the vaults were real, not a myth, and all that other good shit. And essentially, you know, there's plot holes like how the hell did Jack know about the vault on Elpis? It's never really fully explained, but that's fine. And yeah, shit like that. I also wanted to answering some questions, so thank my friend Jorge and my friend Austin, aka Intellectual Leviathan, for the questions they gave me. And I'll start with Jorge's two questions first, which was he asked what happened to Atlas at the end of Borderlands 1. Essentially, it doesn't really talk about it too much, but essentially in Borderlands 1, after you kill Commandant Steele, essentially reveal the Vault of the Destroyer was a bust and not actually full of loot, and then you eventually kill General Knox after he tries to kill you because he's mad about, you know, the Vault being shit and you fucking their plans. Essentially, Atlas disbands, abandons the Crimson Lance here, they become the Crimson Raiders, and things like that. And his second question was, how long was it between Borderlands 1 to Borderlands 2? I guess that includes the pre-sequel, even though the pre-sequel came later. It is implied to be 5 years. About 5 years. It doesn't really explain why 5 years. I mean, I guess it took 5 years to build the moon base, everything, but 5 years. And then my buddy Intellectual Leviathan asked, his first question was, what is Zero? This is a pretty easy question, solely because it has no answer. Zero was never given if he was human or if he was some sort of cyborg or robot. He is just Zero. He is a number, which is fine. Which is fine, because they've played that up pretty good, that he's just a mysterious character, which is fine. He actually works pretty well for him. And then his next question was, why... Essentially it was, why is it characters can permanently die in Borderlands? And that is because respawning is purely a gameplay mechanic and is not canon within the Borderlands series. Which, to a lot of people, does not make sense, but it's the way they just worked it out. It's better than trying to go into detail into explaining why it wouldn't work at certain times and trying to write it into plot. So that happens. And his last thing, which I'm going to kind of stretch it a little bit, is he asked why it was easy to kill the warrior / why is it easy to kill the destroyer or the sentinel. The destroyer, essentially the destroyer could only be killed because it kind of got trapped in between dimensions, and if it wasn't, it would have been immortal. The warrior and the sentinel just draw the assumption that because you became strong enough throughout your own ambitions through the game that you just eventually just acquired this natural strength to beat it through like getting better gear and things like that. Not really a big plot reason why you can kill them other than I just became significantly more swole. So, that's always fun. And yeah, that was a quick recap of a half an hour that I just spent sitting here fucking spewing. So, another day of us missing a huge amount of footage, but it's only about me walking through that area, fighting Flint and all that. Nothing really too big in between that. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, you guys missed me getting that legendary and freak. I didn't freak out. I've gotten that legendary plenty of times. I played this game enough to where if I get certain legendaries, I might freak out a little bit just because I've not had them because they've just never dropped. But otherwise, it's whatever. And it sucks I just lost 33 minutes of footage, but I did all I did was a side mission where I killed Midgemong and all that. Like, you did not miss out on anything. Fuck. But yeah, essentially Borderlands has some pretty interesting side lore. It also does have some plot holes, like especially stuff dealing with the pre-sequel, but I ain't gonna fuck with that. I ain't gonna fuck with all the pre-sequel plot holes. But while on the topic of lore, some other cool, interesting lore about Borderlands 2 is the fact that Wilhelm. It is implied that Wilhelm was actually supposed to be way harder to kill because he could fight off Roland and Lilith and them no problem. And it's implied that when you kill him in 2, he was actually poisoned by Jack, which is super fucked up, especially if you think about he helped in the pre-sequel and everything. So, yeah. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, you can actually comment them in any questions or any more questions or, various things. Leave them in the video below, whether they are lore or not, and I'll make a day of it. I'll just sit here and talk about weird mechanics and stuff like that. Like, another thing that I'd like to point out is, since I was talking about getting a legendary, around, I forgot when it was, but sometime around the time they released the Handsome Collection, this version of the game, they actually changed drop rates of like legendary weapons and shit like that. They actually made them have a higher chance to drop ever so slightly, making them within reason easier to get, which is a pretty cool, nice little quality of life change to the game, just so you don't spend as much time needlessly grinding for a gun or something. So that's kind of nice. I don't know if that affects the drop rates of pearlescence, which, to be honest, they did not make pearlescence in this game as useful as Borderlands 1. And this one, a lot of the pearlescence are kind of weak. Like, I'd much rather have most legendaries than almost any of the pearlescence. Or the Seraph guns, which, that's another thing that never really got explained, was what the fuck are the Seraphs? Like, honestly, what the hell is a Seraph Guardian? What are the Seraph Crystals? Are they like Iridium? What the fuck? So, I don't know. That'd be nice to get explained at some point in the future. Just to kind of, what are Invincibles and what are Thing. It'd just be nice. In my opinion, it'd be nice. And that weird gasping you're hearing is my lovely fiancée playing Fallout.
Blow the fuck up.
She's having a good old grand time. Ah, shit, I got monkey punched. Which reminds me, earlier we were talking about how, so one of the side quests in Fallout is about a guy named Deacon, and Deacon outright tells you his wife was a synth, which is like a robot person. Well, they're not like cyborgs or androids or anything like that. Like, well, they pretty much are androids. They're like essentially just robots that they make look like people. And this dude's like, yeah, well, I had sex with her and we couldn't have a baby, and then I found out she's a synth. And that's gotta be like, that's gotta be a thing. Because it's like, okay, so the question is, does she have like some weird auto blow, like pocket pussy? Like, how does that work? How the fuck, like that just, that, why? Like what? Like, explain to me these things. Explain to me this. Does that mean Nick has like a decaying, like almost penis thing? I wonder.
It's probably like a dildo, to be honest.
No, because it's got to feel like human flesh.
These people have cars that can float and shit, or whatever.
No, actually, I don't know how Fallout cars work since they're all destroyed. None of them work anymore.
True.
Oil doesn't matter in the nuclear apocalypse. Oh, God. And then there's that one synth guy, or institute guy, who his whole fucking job is he has to sit there and program how the penis is going to work. How do they determine size? Do they just, like, get a guy in a room and he rolls it like Play-Doh and he's like, here you go, it's this big? Or they just... They just have this one guy and they just cast mold his dick. Jesus H. That guy. The guy's just sitting there and he's like, so every male synth will have my penis? And they're like, yes, Jimmy, they will. And then there's like some woman and she's like, oh, what about me? Yes, Susie, you too. They'll have your penis as well. Oh boy. I think that's the weirdest thing I've also ever told anyone, speaking of penises and vaginas having something in common. I had to explain to, I think it was Terry, that all babies start being female, and that the clitoris is actually just a penis. Essentially, the clitoris is a penis. Because essentially, like, the penis is like, like when you develop, like, well, when I developed my Y chromosome, it just grows out of where the clitoris should be, and then, like, the balls do the same thing, and they all just end up growing outward and shit like that. And it's like, for girls, it's the opposite. It all just stays on the inside. And that's why, like, people with XXY chromosome have, like, weird, like, where the clitoris is, they have a big old penis. I'm trying to think of what to call it without being considered offensive. But essentially, that's why people with XXY, I think, have a clitoris-looking penis thing, because they have all the chromosomes, and when their body develops, I mean, what's it supposed to do? It develops like that. And it's because, like I said, we all technically start being female, and then when the other chromosome develops, it's like, oh, hey, you know, surprise, you're a boy now. Surprise, you get a penis. You had a vagina, now you got a penis. It's like some Futanari shit. You push the nipples in and the penis pops out or something. What did you do? You broke the game. She broke Fallout, everybody. She typed in the wrong combination and she broke the game. Oh, fucking hell. Yeah, fuck you. But yeah, no, you learned about Borderlands lore today. You learned about strange human anatomy and other various wonders of things. You guys are going to learn a lot from it. You're going to love it. Well, it's like another interesting medical fact. A while back, I actually heard about how a sex change works. Essentially what they do is they cut the top of your penis. Essentially, they cut your dick in half, but they make sure they don't sever the bottom of it because that's where all the nerves endings are. And essentially, they just are like, hey, we're going to do this thing, and essentially they push your dick inside out, and like they do a bunch of weird stuff. Essentially, it's to me, it doesn't sound fun to be told that they're gonna like push my dick inside out. Like I'd rather not. Oh, hey, look at that! I died and came back all in the same day. But yeah, no. Yeah, essentially when they apparently give you a sex change. For a dude, they just like turn your wiener inside out, which that's interesting. Cool, I guess. For a woman, it's different. They just essentially give the woman like a permanent like strap on. That's it. You just get this dildo for the rest of your life, but it has like a ball pump, and you can make it hard or you can make it unhard, and it's great. It's fun. It's not the futanari level of shit you wondered, but hey. Let's face it, real life futanaris are never going to be what people expect them to be, and that's hilarious. Essentially, liking a futanari just means you're... I don't know if that means you're bisexual or not. Because you like a woman with penis, which... Because of chromosomes, I mean, it's not really that different from a man having a penis. Oh, hell, a woman having a penis is just a really flat... A man having a penis is just like a really flat-chested woman having a penis, if you think about it in the right light. I don't know where the fuck I'm going with these thoughts anymore. I think I need to stop at some point. But I won't. I won't, because this is who I am. This is how the world has changed me. But going back to Borderlands a little bit before I dip into the insanity of Futanari.
And Fallout.
The funny thing is that when I was thinking about Borderlands 1 to 2, one of the biggest changes from 1 to 2 that I really kind of missed now that I went back and played 1 a little bit more is the fact that Borderlands 1 had proficiencies, and this game they have badass ranks. And after comparing the two, I miss proficiencies, but when I honestly thought about it, I would like to have a mixture of both. Like, I'd like there to be, in general, bonuses of things like badass ranks, but also the weapon-specific bonuses of proficiencies. It'd be nice to have those. Things of the sort. Oh yeah. What are you going to give me? What are you going to give me? I don't want either one of these. That was a hiccup. I'll take that one though. And there it is. There's the fucking moon base that took 5 years to make. Which, that makes more sense than fucking Dark Souls ever will. Dark Souls, like, 1 to 3 is like... That shit's stupid crazy because it's like how many times did Dark Souls happen in its own continuity? Like, because like 3 implies that each Lord of Cinder essentially went through like their own Dark Souls experience. So it's like, how long is 1 to 3? Like, because that implies that, like, the Abyss Watchers... I can understand why the Abyss Watchers would have had a Dark Soul-esque journey. But, like, Yorm and Aldrich and all that shit. Which in the lore, they're like, oh, well, you know, they were just shoved into the first, like... They were just shoved into, like, the kiln and shit. And it's like, okay, that's fine and dandy, but... Dark Souls 1, you have to go through a bunch of bullshit. And it's like... Did they have to? Did they have to fight, like, Gwyn, like, you know, the Soul of Cinder? Or were they just, like, given a free pass? Like, they're just kind of like, whatever. You're fine. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to understand it at some points. I mean, I like the lore of Dark Souls, but boy, oh boy, does it get easily lost in here. I thought I could search that because I've been playing a lot of Fallout. You gonna give me Iridium or not? No? Okay. I'm gonna keep running around then. Opening these boxes. Fucking hell. Fucking shit. Give me the money. Fucking yeah. Ah, there we go. Oh, it's so pretty. But yeah, no. Dark Souls is a great game. I love it. I do honestly love playing Dark Souls. It's one of my all-time favorites. It's just plot holes. Just plot holes. Which, the worst thing about Dark Souls 3 is, as much as I like Dark Souls 3 and its DLCs, the Ring City DLC kind of kills that game ever having coherent lore. Because essentially that DLC violently retcons some of the story of Dark Souls 1 of like, because Dark Souls 1 was implied that like the gods, the witches, and Nito all fought the dragons, while the humans, the furtive pygmy and all that shit, just kind of found the Dark Soul and were kind of away from it. And then the Ring City DLC is like, no motherfucker, humans were super important. And Gwyn was like, hey, I'm going to give you my secret final boss daughter, and I'm going to give you a city, because you guys are so cool. And it's like, huh? Like, what? Like, okay. And then you figure out his secret daughter is a reference to something. Like, fuck. And that is why I'll never sit here and talk about Dark Souls lore, because it goes down a hole that I am never going to be ready to talk about, ever, for any reason. It's been a fun day. I've been thoroughly enjoying this lore talk. This video's gone places. Places involving in my butthole. Hopefully in my butthole, I hope. I like things in my butthole. Fudanari. It's been a long week. I'm still winded and tired from this week. Also thinking about this video and eternal suffering. Well, at least this video isn't a half an hour long. But I don't know, I'm gonna call it quits for the day, cause I keep having recording issues with Borderlands, with these fucking videos. Maybe next week I'll finally solve recording problems. Or maybe I'll have the same problems over and over and over, and we'll never, ever figure out why this guy has a red hat. I don't know. There's Zed. Zed's the best thing ever. He doesn't have any specific lore. He's just Zed is Krieger. You are Archer, Zed is Krieger. That's all you need to know. Secret Borderlands lore, everybody. Alright. Well, I'm gonna fucking get out of here. But you all have a good rest of the day. I'm gonna try to fix recording problems. I hope. Bye.